What if an appliance emergency didn't have to be? If your appliances suddenly decided they were done, don't stress. Best Buy has you covered with a wide variety of major appliances from trusted brands, in stock and available now. So you don't have to worry about laundry piling up, refilling the fridge, or that big dinner party you're hosting. Because Best Buy has the knowledge and expertise to get you the right appliance for your home. Learn more at bestbuy.com. Best Buy. Imagine that.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
Well, if it's every other Thursday, then I think we must be here. Right? I think we are.
It is Thursday.
It's Thursday. It's also episode 59 of the High Volume Hiring Podcast. You see how I kind of tied that in? I think it was okay. I'm Stephen Rothberg. I'm one of your co-hosts and a little bit punch drunk because this is my 4th video call of the day, and that is at least two too many. And I have 2 more to go, so we're good. I am joined for this episode of the High Volume Hiring Podcast by 2 of the people that I'm going to do my best to get out of the way of, because boy, are we going to have a phone conversation. Jeannette?
Hi, everyone. I am Jeannette Leeds. I am the Executive Vice President, Managing Director at AMS, focusing on our hourly and high volume solutions. And we are here today on episode 59 with Amber from Vette. And for those that don't know Amber, so first of all, welcome. She is a 2-time founder and launched her company during COVID to help solve the high volume hiring problem. I'm so happy to have you here. I especially always love, a female founder as well. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you both so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and appreciate the opportunity.
Excellent. So our title today is around how can we scale with humans for interviews, something along like those lines. And so, Amber, you and I, we've known each other, and just what you're doing with your company is just really fantastic. So maybe just do a quick overview of what you're doing. And, just related to that, I think a question on probably so many people's minds, whether this is related to high volume or just in general, is why can't we just replace humans with AI and call it a day? Call it a day. Done. We can all just go to the beach and hang out.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the intro. And so basically I started Vette right as COVID was happening. And it initially was, it was intended to be kind of a place where companies it was almost like an Uber for phone interviews. I saw at the time that a bunch of my friends were applying to jobs and they would never hear back from the company. And then I had a friend or friends who owned businesses, and they were like, I can't hire people fast enough. And I was like, I really feel like there's a disconnect between the two. And so I thought, why, I don't think it's because the companies don't want to interview these people. I think it's because they don't have enough time or resources to do it, to get to them in the amount of time that they need to get to them. And so I was like, well, what if someone could request an interview, like requesting an Uber or a Lyft, and the applicant could interview on demand, and we could basically utilize the gig economy to be the ones doing the interviews off of, essentially a script that the company provides on the platform. So I started testing it out manually and built out a proof of concept, kind of like a bubblegum and tape version of it. And the applicants' responses, basically as soon as they would apply on Indeed or whatever job board, I would text them and say, hey, I saw you apply this job. Would you like to interview with someone now? And I paid all my friends and family to basically sit on call and to interview these people. And the responses were like, wow, this is so fast. I've never been interviewed this fast. This is amazing. So I was like, okay, I think we have something here.
That is so cool. And I also love the reference to, the putting it together in like a shoestring. Yeah, I can't remember the exact words you used, but like, I've used like baling wire, bubble gum, and Band-Aids to kind of hold together that initial. Some entrepreneurs call it the MVP, minimally viable product. And for anybody who's looking for investment money or starting off, that's the way to go. Be ridiculously and super inefficiently manual. Prove that you've got something, then invest in the automation. So I love that about that. I also love the fact that you call these interviewers vetters. I love companies that are able to kind of put their company name into that. I think it helps to build community. Now, Amber, you mentioned that was sort of the original concept, kind of like the Uber for interviewing, where companies could kind of go on and say, hey, we're interviewing for a new bookkeeper, have 50 people interviewed in literally minutes. What does it evolve into?
Yeah, so originally I always like say that my original why was to take care of my mom one day. Like that is my reason. I really, she had multiple jobs when I was growing up, and I always wanted to, just take care of her after my dad passed away. And so after starting the company, I started seeing how many other lives that this was impacting, other moms, our veterans are stay-at-home moms, retirees, military veterans, our neighbors, the regular people. And so we really are, kind of pivoted to really focus on, because originally we were kind of doing like different industry, like higher skill industries. But I found a matrix that basically said, the lower the skill, the more on demand something could be, the higher the skill, the less on demand. And so I kind of took that and I was like, well, the people that we really want to serve are the people that are often forgotten about. It's a lot of hourly people where companies just don't have enough time or resources to get to them. And so they're often, sitting in a database, not hearing back from the company. And what that does to someone's like psyche is, it really creates this, like, am I good enough? Or, this feeling of like self-worth. And if they don't hear back from the company. And so it has a spiral effect, like truly on humanity. And so those are the industries that we serve, which is the high volume, high turnover industry sector.
Hi, I'm George LaRock, and I'm looking forward to exploring the critical trends shaping the future of work and technology with you over on the Work Tech podcast. Now, this podcast is a little different. I bring together industry leaders, innovators, and investors, and we go deep into market intelligence that matters to HR pros and tech providers alike. So give the Work Tech podcast a listen here on the Work Defined Podcast Network, and please subscribe if you like it. See you there.
I love that. I mean, there is such a need. And I love how you're using really this underutilized labor market, right? That like through the gig economy and that on-demand piece as well. Let's just go back to a second around the AI versus human.
Yes. Yeah.
So, there's obviously lots of people out there that are like, okay, well, you don't even need the people, right, to do the interviews. Obviously, I know you have a point of view. I have a point of view. We all have points of view. Like, but again, back to that question, like, okay, why can't we just replace humans with the AI and just be done and dusted? Like, talk a little bit about that, because I know you have a good.
Yeah, definitely. So when we were first raising funding, I remember very vividly that we were in the process. We were with an investor, and we thought they were going to end up investing. And right as ChatGPT came out, they were like, well, AI can sound like a human now, so we're not going to need humans, so we're going to pull out. And so I remember that week, I literally did not sleep for like maybe 4 days straight doing research and understanding what is the difference between humans and AI. And I started listening to our actual vets, the interviews, because we record all of them. And I started realizing the just this like almost like magic that would happen in these calls. And it comes down to relatability. It comes down to a lived experience that a human has lived, whereas AI hasn't lived it. Like, for example, if someone's like, oh, I grew up in Bridgewater, New Jersey, and, the applicant says, oh, I went there with my grandpa growing up. It's like this moment of, connection, which we call instant human connection, IHC at Vette, that you just can't replicate with AI. And when we think about hiring, we're working with human beings. Like, who have feelings like, and I basically started kind of also like diving into like the science behind the word matter. And basically we solve matter in science since we know the formula for that. So we could solve that in human psychology too, because we have the formula here. And so it started basically going into like width, depth, and it's like how deep you go with someone, how long you spend, you know, on the time that you're spending with them. And it was really important to know that like the word matter, I'm like a weirdo when it comes to words. Like I love the dictionary. I used to read the dictionary for fun. And
not to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. Love reading the dictionary. I know it's weird, but like really understanding words. Like I feel like, you know, when we say to someone, you matter, or we show someone that they matter, you know, that has a profound impact, you know, on the outcome and behavior. So
walk us through the workflow, right?
Yeah.
Your client, the employer, sounds like the pivot doesn't sound like it was like a product pivot. It was more about the customer base. Like what's our ideal customer?
Yeah.
Totally makes sense to me. So you've got company doing, you know, warehouse, hospitality, call center, whatever. They come to you and they say, hey, Vette, we've got these 78 recs out there. We're getting 600 applications a day. Your team says, this is what you should do. Like walk us through the workflow that your team would recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically we don't change the applicant experience from what they're currently used to for the most part, from the top of the funnel. So it really emulates kind of what is already happening. But what we do is as soon as an applicant applies to the job, our API scrapes the applicant's name, phone number, job they applied to, sends them a text that says, hey, saw you applied to this job. We have someone who can interview you. Would you like to talk to someone now?
And that happens in like a minute.
Within seconds.
Okay.
And so the applicant, you know, could respond yes or no, but I could do it later. We say, great, whenever you're ready to interview, here's the link. So we've completely eliminated the need for scheduling at all. And so we also really cater to the demographic that, you know, persona and profile that we're going for. So a lot of people don't have smartphones. And so we didn't make it so they have to download an app or anything like that. They click the link and then it looks like kind of like an Uber-like page where they have a little bit of information about the job and then they hit interview now and it searches who's online, matches them up with them, and then that initiates a call to the applicant. So companies can also put knockout questions in that interview now page to narrow down who, you know, is most qualified to talk.
And if the candidate is like me, and I think a lot of people, if they get a call from a number that they're not expecting, I hit the right button on my iPhone and I send them the voicemail. And if they don't leave me a voicemail, it can't be that important. What happens with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually came from the staffing world. That was like my first job. And I remember like my job was to smile and dial applicants and no one would ever pick up because they didn't recognize the number. I called them, you know, a day after they applied and it didn't work with their schedule. So basically on the platform, the applicant can see who's calling them and a countdown and the phone number that's calling them. So all of the numbers are masked by our technology, but they are initiating their own interview and they're also anticipating it. And we have interviews going off at 1 a.m, 2 a.m. when people are getting off their shift. So 24/7, we have vetters vetting.
Cool. Jeannette, I think we have time for one more question. You want to, you look, I know your face. It's like,
I know. I'm like, oh, I know. I was like, I just love this because it combines, you know, the best of tech with like people, right? And then wrapping around the process is that combination of this on demand, right? Like this on demand, and you said like it's like an Uber, right? Where you can see, okay, it's calling, like it's that anticipation. From the candidate experience standpoint, I mean, I would imagine that the throughput of like great, it keeps them in, gets them like. Do you have any like case studies that you could share? I don't want to talk about, but just like some of that outcomes, because I would imagine our listeners.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so just to continue the process. So after the interview is done, the applicant knows their feedback of what the next steps are within 10 minutes. And it also goes back into the company's ATS automatically within minutes. And so after that, we're also sending touch points. We're really big on positive affirmations and rooting the applicant on. Again, these are people who maybe have never been told in their life that they matter. So we're really cheering them on, rooting for them. And that part is automated in the SMS, but they feel like, they have a place that they could speak, go to speak their truth. But something that's really, really fascinating is that what we started seeing is that companies, employees started signing up to be vetters. So we were like, this is
so interesting.
Yeah. So we pulled all the data from the vets, because these applicants are speaking their truth on these calls, where, they're telling the real why they're leaving companies. So we have companies that we know why they're leaving your companies to the companies that are hiring, because they're speaking their truth. And it's really fascinating, and what they're looking for in the next job. And the top 3 things that I'll say that applicants said that the most important thing and why they're leaving jobs is opportunity for growth, stability, and team collaboration. Those are the top 3 things. Pay wasn't on it. Benefits, those were the top 3 things that were the most important all around for these applicants out of thousands and thousands of applicants and data points. So what we've now done is we've introduced for companies basically to create their own ecosystem of vetters that for their employees to be able to do this in their free time, so they could generate an additional, income and they know the company. So the trust is there. And so this fulfills that opportunity for growth, stability, and team collaboration that companies are struggling with, and therefore applicants are leaving. And just some fun facts also, 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. 45% of Americans have a side gig, and 30% is literally just to pay their basic needs, their bills. So with this allows them to be able to, the company to offer this to their applicants, kind of like a benefit, for them to retain that exact, employee, while helping them fulfill their basic needs, essentially.
Wow. I want to keep going for another 3 hours.
I know, seriously.
We can't. So, Amber, on behalf of the High Volume Hiring Podcast, any other organization or people I can think of, thank you for helping to put the human back into human resources.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Awesome.
Love
it.
Cheers.
Hey, thanks, everyone.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.